Hey, this is Sasha, and welcome to another stock trading and educational video. Now, in today's video, what I'd like to do is share some insight on how you can trade stocks if you're living abroad or if you're an international person. So that's the topic of today's lesson, is trading stocks as an international or foreign trader. Now, I typically run into this question a handful of times every single month where, hey, I'm living in this country, I'm living in India, and I'm wondering, how can I trade stocks? Hey, I'm living in Europe, whether that's Germany or some other country, maybe it could be in the Netherlands. How do I trade stocks? You know, the thing is those countries and those areas, they have their own stock market. But if you're looking to trade on the US market and looking to trade on our markets, there is a way for you to trade on those markets, but you do have to file and get the right paperwork in order. Now, it is, of course, a lot easier if you're a US citizen and then you're going to go ahead and make trades just because you're living abroad. So that's actually a lot easier. But for this video, what I'm going to share with you is some insight to how you can actually trade on the stock market when you're living abroad, when you're a foreign or an international person. So the simple answer is, can you do it? And the answer is yes, you can. But there are more complexities. Now, a couple of disclaimers and caveats here. I am a US citizen here, so I do not have firsthand experience as far as getting and going through all the paperwork. So what I've done in order to give you the right information here in this video is I've contacted a couple of different brokers to get their insight and talk to them about as far as the paperwork that you need to fill out to go ahead and go through the process of setting up an account. Keep in mind that every country has different rules and regulations. Every broker also has certain regulations that they follow and practice because they're associated in certain countries. Maybe they have a brokerage in another country. And if they have that with your country, then there might be some different rules and regulations. So the best bet is to always go ahead, pick up the phone, give them a call and explain your situation based on your documentations, based on your government IDs, and where your country of citizenship really resides. Not every country is going to be accepted for trading simply just because of the rules, the regulations, the risk factors that are involved. I know a couple of countries like Nigeria or Iraq or Iran, they may have a little bit of trouble. But as far as many other countries go, you shouldn't have too much trouble. But again, best to call your broker or contact a couple different brokers to see their policies, their rules, and their regulations. Now, as far as getting into the what you're going to need, some of the paperwork and some examples of that paperwork, let me share with you some insights and wisdoms of what I found out by contacting and calling these brokerage firms. So what else will you need, or what do you really need to get yourself started, or what are the key components? You will have additional paperwork that I mentioned earlier. One of those main things is a W-8 BEN form, and this is for tax purposes so that you don't have to file US taxes. You'll also need to have a passport or some kind of government ID, and you'll also need to verify your address, your country of residence, and things like a utility bill, gas, water bill, or electric, potentially a bank statement as well. Now, this paperwork not only ensures that you are who you say you are, but it also protects the brokerage firm from, a lot of the frauds and things that may happen since they may not reside directly in your country. Now, you might be wondering if your country qualifies or if you qualify in order to trade. Now, most countries can trade on those US markets, except a handful, like I mentioned, like Iran, Nigeria, those are a few. But as you start looking at some drop downs in some brokers, then you'll really get an idea of which ones are going to work, which countries are going to be just fine, and which ones you may have trouble with getting approval if you live in one of those high-risk countries. So I find that one of the best places to sign up and get an international account is through Interactive Brokers. Now, keep in mind, they do have some account minimums like $10,000, and you have to trade a certain number of trades every single month. Otherwise, you get charged a small fee. So there are a few minimums and other requirements that you will need to hit. However, when you go ahead and take a look at some of the locations and client services that they have a great deal of locations, which means they're very friendly for international clients, and it allows you to really go ahead and trade fairly easily if you're international, and you get support also as well in those international countries with those international phone numbers. So when you go ahead and look to open an account, let's just say I'm looking to open up an individual account. So as you start this application and you go through this process, what's going to happen is after you give your email address, you're registering your username, it's going to ask you for which country or residential country you're in. And this is kind of going to give you an insight of some of the countries that you can select and drop down. And as you start looking through this list, you can see that a great deal of countries is actually covered. Now, you'll notice that as I get into, let's just say, you can see here, India is a very big one. But as we get into Iran, there is no Iran listed here. Okay, so no Iran right there, and that's what I mentioned earlier. There's also, let me just double check. There's Niger, but there's not Nigeria. So if you kind of look at the map here, you can see that Niger is accepted, but Nigeria is not. So if you were able to just move a little bit further out, you can see that you may have a better potential of actually getting a trading account. So anyways, those are some things to keep in mind as you go through this application process. Now, I'm not sure if they left those countries out specifically because they don't accept them right away, or if they're just going to go through, again, a filtering process for you that's even more extreme. So again, keep in mind, if you're in a higher risk country, you may have a little more difficulty of getting approved. Now, what I've also done is gotten the application as well from TD Ameritrade for an international person. So there's a lot of PDF documents that they sent me. So again, this is a different broker, but it'll give you some insights to, again, some of the paperwork that's required as you go through the full process. Let's just kind of start through the top and work our way down. So if we look here at a foreign account opening, you can see here's our form. And when you go through this process, you can see here is a completed account application. The application is enclosed. You'll want to go through some of these documents, which is the W-8 Ben form, which I mentioned earlier here. Please include your country's tax identifying number, and so on. So you can see they give you a lot of other things that you're going to need, such as your passport, a visa, proof of residency, and you can see they cannot accept a credit card statement, TV or satellite provider bill, cell phone bill, or a landline bill as proof of residence. Completed letter of explanation for a U.S. address and U.S. phone number required only if mailing address, phone number in the United States is listed on the application. So you can see you're still able to do it if you're if you have a foreign address. And then what you'll do is you'll send these documents and forms, and then go through this whole process of going through this form and completing it. There's also, of course, some basic things like a client agreement. Again, this is pretty standard. Usually they give this to you anyway to anybody if you're signing up. Standard account, this is just a general account application. Again, this is basically very standard to any account opening that you're going to do with TD Ameritrade. So as you look through this, you can see that, again, here's just a basic account that you're filling out. So, your investment objectives, whether you're conservative, moderate, aggressive, or speculative, investment time horizon for this account, like what are you looking to for those investment time horizons, funding your account, how are you going to do it? Again, that's pretty standard stuff. There's going to be a transfer form if you need to make any transfers from any other brokers, so you can see how that looks like. But usually if you're just opening up a new account, you probably won't need that. Then you have this welcome letter that you'll also get. There's also a different welcome letter, commission-free trades offer right there. And then here's the W-8 Ben form. So this is a certificate of foreign status of a beneficial owner for United States tax withholding. So what this basically means, from my understanding, and I'm not a tax professional or a tax expert, you may want to reach out to an accountant specifically and get more insights about this, but what they do is withhold tax before they make payments out to you. So basically before you're able to withdraw things, they kind of do the taxes ahead of time rather than in the United States, what happens is you go ahead and make trades and you make your profits, you can take your money out, but then you go ahead and pay taxes at the end of the year. Here, before you go into that account and are able to withdraw money, they actually make those taxes even ahead of time for you. That's my understanding. Could be a simplified version of that, but that's what this form appears to be all about. So here, it says that you examine the form, affidavit, unchanged status, and you fax and send this form in. So anyways, that's another major form that you'll need to fill out. Of course, they have the commissions and fees that you'll get. That's a standard starting point, but you can negotiate those rates as you do more trading. Again, just a standard form that you may want to take a look at. Here's a deposit slip if you need to go ahead and make a deposit for sending a check or what you want to do. Funding your account, and margin disclosure forms. Again, very standard for their protection. So what you need to really look at this as a foreign person who's setting up an account in an international way is looking at this foreign account opening checklist. So make sure you follow all these items right here and do your best to fill out that form. The other thing you're going to need to also do is look at this W-8 form. And when you go through this again, you'll need to fill this out as well and go through this process. And these are the two main forms that are a little bit different. So in either case, you can also set up entities if you want. And for that, it would be W-8 E form. So again, if you're trading and you want to set up a corporation in order to do that kind of trading, you would do a W-8 E form. So that's kind of the basic starting point of what you need to get an international trading account. So you can see that the process is not overly complicated. There are a few additional forms that you'll have to fill out, and it's a little bit of additional work than if you were just a regular US citizen, but you can get it done and you can get it completed, and then you'll have a trading account that you can use and trade stocks. Whether you want to do it actively or a little more passively, that's going to be up to you. So now, what is the next step to do from here? What you'll probably want to do is pick up the phone and call these brokers or call multiple brokers if you have any additional questions. I would always say call a few rather than just one, and call multiple times, because sometimes you get some additional knowledge and information that is shared with you beyond the first person. So it's always good to call multiple times, and that way maybe you get a second person that's a little more knowledgeable about international traders, international investors, and foreign accounts. Now, they will walk you through any additional paperwork that you may need to be compliant depending on your personal situation. But keep in mind, there may be a few hoops that you need to jump through to get things set up. But at least once you're set up, you should be good to go. And that's the end of setting up your account. Some of the other additional problems and maybe issues you may experience is anytime you have account changes, if you're moving from one country to another, instead of filling out the forms online, you may need to go ahead and pick up the phone and call them to make those changes. I find that a lot of internet services, forms, web things that you do adjustments with, especially when things are more complicated, just don't function exactly 100%. As well as when you have reporting at the end of the year for taxes, that may also create some other complications because of the paperwork that you may also need to submit there towards the end of the year, if there is any additional paperwork that goes along with that. But in any case, that's some insight that I've gained between talking to a few different brokers and getting the knowledge and information as far as opening up a foreign account. Again, this is just research that I've done. I don't have any experience doing it, but maybe this will give you a starting point to going out and opening up your own account. If you're able to go ahead and find a broker that's in your country that's able to handle the trades, something like for Canadian citizens, you have things like Quest Trade right here, which if you take a look right here, they have self-directed investing, and you're basically 1 cent a share or a minimum of $4.95, buy certain ETFs for free. So again, there's certain brokers out there that really are specific to your country. And here with Quest Trade, this is one that's great for Canadians, right? So you have option trades, again, a little bit higher price just simply because you're in Canada. You also have some active trading That's a little bit cheaper there for options, which $6.95 plus 75 cents a transaction, but the stock trade's still basically $4.95 a trade, or here 1 cent share minimum here for the variable plan. You could also do things like a TD Waterhouse, which is basically TD Ameritrade. It was TD Waterhouse in the past. They merged. Again, a little bit more expensive on the pricings than the US, but again, that's just part of Canada. You have Q-Trade here as well, and then you have RBC Direct Investing and probably a few others. But you can see you can trade right here. This is a broker specifically for Canadians. And you know, if you go through the process of doing your research and doing your due diligence to finding a broker that you can work with locally, then you can do that as well. And it may simplify your life and make things a lot easier to be able to trade on the stock market. And again, sometimes they're only able to trade directly in the market that you're at, meaning their own geographic location. And other times they could do an international market. Again, it's best to really contact that broker and see what it is that they can do, because foreign accounts, they're a lot different. And there's so many different countries where I have no idea where you live, where you reside, the country of residence, your paperwork, your documentations, and what you're able to get completed with the paperwork that you have. So take a moment to do some of your own research, pick up the phone, call a few of these brokers, see what's possible. If there's any other local brokers that they may know of that may be more beneficial for you as well, that's another good question to go ahead and ask. So thanks for joining me in this week's video. Hope you found it helpful, especially for those of you that live overseas. And I want to give you a thank you and shout out for watching my videos, because I know they're spoken in English and they are US based, but a lot of the trading concepts should still apply if you're looking to trade, invest, learn about money management skills, investing, technical analysis. Many of those things should still apply, even if you're trading internationally, overseas, or in a foreign account. If you'd like to take a look at some of the other free video lessons that I have, go ahead and take a look at tradersfly.com. But if you want to see some of the in-depth video courses that I have available, all my courses are at rise2learn.com. And definitely don't forget to sign up to my newsletter list by clicking this button right here. When you click that button, enter your name and email address, and you'll be added to the newsletter list where you can get some more insights about some of the live Q&A classes that we do. In the end, remember, do what you love, contribute to other people, but most importantly, live life abundantly. I'll see you in the next video.